So it's the next day, and where I left off was the last thing I did was take the belt off, and then I really just went in here and disconnected the connector on it. It does have a little red safety tab. I don't know if I can get in here or not at the moment. You can kind of see it. I know it's dark, but there's a little red safety tab. I can't get to it, but it's back in here. I'll show it to you once we get it out. But you had to slide it over. On mine it was to the left, maybe to the right on yours. They can vary sometimes, but I had to slide it over, and then you just press the little tab and it slides right out. And oh, one more thing I wanted to let y'all know is this kit did come with an orifice tube. You can buy them, but on these, the orifice tube lives right here from what I found. That's soldered shut, and the only way you can replace it is you either do compression fittings or you buy a whole new line from like Dodge Jeep store. So I let the owner know, and he didn't want me doing either one, so we're just going to be leaving that alone. Car don't have that many miles on it, and it wasn't like the compressor destroyed itself, so I don't think there would be a lot of stuff on it. I'm just going off what the customer wants me to do. I know personally I would replace the line, that's just me, but I know everybody doesn't want to do that. And since this system did just leak out, and instead of something destroying itself, you know, like compressor or, you know, the dryer bag break or something like that, I know it shouldn't be too clogged up. It's just leaking out. And whenever the system was running, and when you fill it up, when it is running, it runs great and it's super cold. So we'll go with this mentality, I guess, on this one. But if it was my vehicle, I would personally get a new one or do the compression fittings. Probably do the new hose. I'll find a link to that hose if I can for everybody, because I do know that it's a little harder to find this hose, and I don't know why, but I found it. I got the part number, and I'll put the part number in the link below, and if I can find one on like Amazon or something, I'll also put that link down. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the lines off. It should be two 13 millimeters down here, and then you can pull your lines straight up. I will disconnect the pressure sensor right there. That way whenever I go to move the line, it doesn't pull on it or anything. So we're going to take those two off, and then once we do that, we can start pulling the compressor itself off. And then I got the compressor right here. This is the new one. Can't remember if I showed y'all any part numbers to it or not. And this one has the low side fitting on it right there. Which is different from mine. I may have to take that off and switch over the covers. Yep, I'm gonna have to do that. So on this one, it does come in another gasket with the compressor, so I have to take that cover off. It's got the low side fitting on there, and switch it with this one. Okay, I see how they did that. Not ideal for a good compressor replacement, but hey, it works, I guess. So here's part number to the compressor. I'll show it to you. Went to Napa, not a sponsor, but so we got part number is 272387 or the 78379. It is a brand new compressor, not a reman. Let me get these lines off, and then we'll start pulling the compressor off. As you can see, I took the power steering pump off and I kind of laid it down. The reason I did this is we got to get to this bolt right there. Ugh. And then that one back there. I know y'all can't see it, but there's one attached to the back of this bracket. That is your upper. AC compressor bolt, and I disconnected the wire and harness that goes down to the bottom. I think that may be the, I don't know what sensor it is, can't really tell. It might be an oil level or something, because I think that the crank sensor is on the bell housing of the transmission on these, but it could be crank sensor. It's been a while since I worked on one of these Jeeps, but we're gonna have to get to these bolts, so that's why I took the AC compressor, I mean the power steering pump off. Keep on saying AC compressor, that's what I'm trying to remove. But that's why we took the power steering pump off, because we got to get to that bolt and one on the back of there. So I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of an update as to what I'm doing. So that's my next step, is to get those two. We'll have to use a universal swivel, whatever you want to call it, down on that one, and then we'll have to get my ratchet or ratchet wrench on the back side. I'll probably use a ratchet to break it loose, and then use a ratchet wrench to thread it the rest of the way out. But I'm going to take that one out first, just on the back, and then we'll do the one that's holding the power steering pump bracket. You can see I got the compressor just kind of sitting down in there, and I wanted to show you this before I pulled it out. So I was able to use my ratchet the whole time to pull it out of this bracket right there. It goes through this little piece, and then I took and used my ratchet to break that loose, then used the ratchet wrench on that. And then on the front one, I could get to it real easy with like a 3-inch extension, and all these are 15 millimeters. So once you do that, I got a pry bar and stuck it down in between the water neck right there and pushed it to come over as far as I could. Then I had to pry on this, let me get y'all down in here. I had to pry on this up a little bit while I pulled over to the right, or to the driver's side I should say. But I pulled it over so that way it fell over. Then I just got my pry bar back down the side of here and pushed it off of the little bracket piece. Because it does have, like the alternators have sometimes, where it's got like a little squeeze thing. When you tighten it, it squeezes it and compresses it onto the bracket. But now I should be able to just lift this out of here. Maybe. There we go. It's got a little bit of weight to her. But now you can get a closer look at what I'm talking about. This right here squeezes in and applies pressure onto the bracket so that it can keep it in place. We're going to compare it to our new one. Yeah, if I can get it. Looks to be the same. Only thing I have to do is have to take this cover off and put this cover on. Now, I am going to take a wire brush and kind of clean up this thread area, and then I'm going to clean up all this as well, because this thing is a little dirty. But I also got to pull this off of it and take that off too. So let me do that, and then I will bring y'all back once I get it on here, or actually once I get these two off, because it does come with a new gasket, and it even comes with all new mounting hardware too, so we can do that. And okay, normally these come with O-rings, but this one didn't. Okay, well, I guess I have to go on my O-ring stashing and get some for the lines. But let me change all this. These look to be 8 millimeters, and these are Allen heads. I don't know what size that is. Let me take it off, and then I'll let y'all know what the size everything is. Alright, I just took the bolts out of this right here. You can see wobbly. Those are 6 millimeters. Ones on the original ones, those are 8 millimeter. And when I say 6, that's a 6 millimeter hex, Allen, whatever you want to call it. Now, let's take this off. That's your cover. Got a pressure port on there. Now you want to take this off. This is the new seal. I'm going to stick that in there. I'm going to get a little bit of pag oil, pull around here real quick. Alright, what I'm doing is I'm going into Protoman right now. We're going to see how much pag oil this is going to take. The Wrangler 4 liters, an X standard. service manual, go to fluids. AC compressor oil takes 6 ounces of PAG 46, and this is going to take 1.25 pounds of R134. So you're looking at about 20 ounces of R34. This is a 8-ounce container right here. So my GoPro did something funny. It went black and it wouldn't let me do anything. I had to pull the battery out. I need to get me a new one. It's about that time. It's good to have 2 of them anyway. But so what I did was I took some PAG 46 and we put 6 ounces in here. I don't know why it lost all that footage, but we just use little measuring cups, like medicine measuring cups, and I put 6 ounces in there and we just pour it right in there. I did pour this out and like just tip it over. It'll come out of this port right here, and you just rotate the clutch, not just the, and you see how that spins. You have to actually hold the front and rotate it like that. But there is no torque spec that I could see, but before I did take off the old one and the new one, I used my digital torque wrench and just kind of pulled until it moved just a hair to see what the torque spec was. So on the torque spec on this right here, we're going to torque it back to 30 foot-pounds because it stopped at like 32 is what it moved at. So I'm going to go to 30 on these, but just be careful. If it feels like it's getting a little scary, I wouldn't go any more than 25 then, because that's about an oil plug on the drain pan. That's about the torque on that. So I'm going to put all this back together, and make sure you put all this the right way. You want to make sure that you got the orientation correct. So threads, I went over those with thread chaser, goes up like this to this one little bracket, just so you know. But and even cleaned that off, even went over with like a little wire brush, and this sucker's just that dirty. We got it back on. I torqued mine to 25. I didn't like the way mine was starting to feel, so I just went to 25, and I went ahead and used the Allen bolts on here just because I feel like they would hold a little bit better, and a lot of times you can get an Allen head in a spot, like a long one, easier than you could a ratchet and a regular socket sometimes, if you had ever had to replace that, if that was leaking. But we got that on, and now we're going to throw her back in, and we're going to try to set this up where y'all can watch it. My arm may get in the way a little bit. If it does, I'm sorry about that. I'm actually leaning up against y'all. Okay, I'll move y'all back. This is your bottom bolt, and we're going to start it first. Come on. See what it's doing. Come on, get in there. Now that I got the bottom one kind of started, what I'm going to do is get it into the threads and get it started on that way, and then I'm going to put this top bolt in and get it started so it's lined up correctly. Then we'll throw the bracket and this upper ear bolt right there on, just because you need to line that back one up first before you tighten down anything. So I'm going to have to move y'all, so you may not be able to see this, but I'm just going to get everything started, and whenever I get everything started and get ready to torque it all down, I'll bring y'all back and let y'all know what all the torque specs are on everything. I got the compressor on now, and a little trick to get this bracket lined up is just stick these 2 bolts right there back in there, and it'll keep it lined up for you. And we got all 3 bolts on there. I'm going to show you all the torque specs for the 4 liter, which is right here. The compressor to the block is 33 to 48. Rear brace to compressor is 30 to 41. So just keep that in mind. Can't really get a torque wrench on many of them, so just kind of don't over tighten them. I mean, you feel about how they were when they come off, just tighten them about that point. But now we're going to throw the power steering pump back on. I got the connector on the bottom. I think it runs to the back of the engine. It may even be the crank sensor, I don't know on this point right now, but it is a connector down there. But we'll connect it back on there, and I may go ahead and put my lines on just because I can get to them a lot easier with the AC compressor off. And we went ahead and changed all the O-rings and everything on them as well. So let me put that on there, and then we'll start putting everything back together, because I did get the condenser in. Here it is right here. Don't know what the part number is. Yes, it's it right there. 3082AD7013082. I think that's a UAC part number. If anybody's wondering, I think that's what Napa uses, is UAC. So let me get all this put back together, and once I get the lines on and get the power steering pump back on, I'll go ahead and throw the belt on, and then we'll start putting the condenser back in it. So, don't know where I left off, because I got pulled off the job to do a fuel pump on a 4Runner. So I'm just going to start off here. Here's the condenser. They're going to have plugs in here. Should come with the studs. When you take this off, you should hear some kind of hiss, suction, or something. If you don't, it means that there is a leak in the system somewhere. Okay, you can barely hear that one. It was a little tiny hiss. I don't know if y'all could hear it or not, but alright. Now I gotta grab a pair of side cutters. We'll just use these. And what we're going to do, we're going to thread these in. Short side should go inside of here. Right, got these in. Now we're going to put this in. We're going to take the bolts out of here with the little rubber grommets. You're going to have to pry them off. They're not easy to pull off, and push them back in. So they got the rubber plugs on the back. Just push the bolt through, put the rubber plug on the back, and it takes a lot of pressure to put them in down here, or right there. So it may take you a minute to do it. Just keep pushing on it. It'll go in eventually. You can put a little bit of lube, grease, oil, something around it, and they'll slide in a little easier. But it's not an easy task. Even getting them out is a pain in the butt. Got the radiator in, and now I'm about to put the fan on. And you're going to have to put the fan in with the shroud at the same time. Right, a little bit of finagling you're gonna have to do. There we go. Try to get it. Come on. Appreciate it. We got everything back on now. All we gotta do is just put coolant in it. I still got the overflow. I just thought about that, but you know what? I can do that while y'all are right here, right there, and I'll show y'all how that goes. Just gotta make sure that the bottom goes in. That is the hardest part to do. Okay, there it goes. All right, that went in. All right, overflow's on. Now, like I said, all you gotta do is put coolant in it, but I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling a vacuum while I'm putting coolant in it. You can see no vacuum or anything. Got my vacuum pump hooked up. We're gonna go ahead and flip it on. This side and that side. And we're just going to let it run for about 15 or 20 minutes, then we'll come back and check it, and then once we have it where it's down as far as it'll go, we'll cut it off and let it sit for about 15 minutes. Been sitting here about 15-20 minutes, and I did have to replace something because it was leaking. These little O-rings right here on the big tube right here on the left side. If you're facing the vehicle, it's on the left side, but this one right here, that one right there was leaking because it had actually rolled and cut the O-ring on it. So I had to put 2 new O-rings on that to make it seal up. And I did retest it, and it's holding good now. And like I said, it's been holding 15-20 minutes now, and it hasn't gone down not 1 inch of mercury. So that's good. So now what I'm going to do, this takes 1.25 pounds, which is roughly 20 ounces. So we are going to use my can puncture tool, and we are going to start putting Freon in on this thing. We already have an oil in there, so 6 ounces. I have these little 12-ounce cans right here. I'm gonna put one whole one in and about 90% of the second one. I know you're supposed to weigh it out, but and I always go in on the low side. I'm going to go in here and crank her up. So after about 1.5 cans, you're sitting at 40 and right at 200, which is pretty good for today because we are in probably about 88 to 90 degree weather today. And I know you can't see in there, but not nothing on my finger. I still got to add some more to this. So I'm just going to keep an eye on this and then let it come up to temperature, make sure all the fluids are good, check the temperature on the inside. And before I close out the video, I'll bring y'all back. So we got the truck, it's at running temperature, sitting about 210 now, and roughly about 30 degrees over here, 27 over there, 27 over there. So I'd call this a win. So this is pretty much putting, you know, all this on one of these Jeeps. I did call it the wrong model. Let me know. Like I said, I'm not like up to date on all my Jeep lingo and like models, you know, JKs, XJs, whatever you want to call them. But let us know what model this is. This is an 04. If I got any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. And I'll get to them as soon as I can in the comment section if I can talk. If I left out anything, let me know as well. If you got any tips or tricks, let us all know, because I know I took off a good bit of stuff and I may not have to take all that off. But I just want to say thank you to all my members, subscribers, and fans and all that stuff. Helps the channel grow. We're getting close to that 5,000 mark, so keep an eye open for that video and that giveaway. And until next time, Torque to State, y'all have a great day.